to assess the state of affairs of Grts 13, which is helping to entrench peace and stability in that part of Sudan. Abubakar Dabo is accompanying the team and he sends this report.
The fact-finding mission embarked upon by the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces and his team of experts to the restive Sudanese region of Darfur was well thought out and ambitious. Its core objective is to explore firsthand the situation of the 13th contingent of the Gambia Armed Forces serving under the United Nations African Mission in Darfur, as well as discuss with the mission authorities on issues relating to the contingent's concern. The delegation arrived at Al-Fasha in Darfur on Tuesday morning for a tumultuous welcome by head of the United Humanitarian Affairs, Landing Captain Baji, the intelligence chiefs of the Sudanese government, the Grts 13 commander, Lieutenant Colonel Salifu Bojang, and other top UN officials. A guard of honor was mounted in honor of the CDS and delegation, which he inspected before paying a courtesy call on the United Acting Force commander. Major General Kisamba extolled the Gambia contingent as one of its most disciplined and professional forces in Darfur. He described the visit by the Gambian CDS as appropriate as it exhibits the concern and care the Gambia government has for its men in the mission area. General Kinter, rejoicing over the words of accolades, emphasized that the Gambia government will keep on providing the professional and competent men whose efforts can help in bringing peace to Sudan. Among other things discussed by the two generals was the difficulty incurred by most countries in traveling to Al-Fasha, which they say must be traced out to achieve the overall objective of the UNAMID. The CDS and delegation was later led by Landing Captain Baji to the Police Commissioner of UNAMID, James Opong Buano, who used his meeting with the CDS to appreciate the progressive participation of the Gambia Police Force over the years. He also lamented on the need to solve the problem relating to visas and clearance in Sudan, while urging the police high command of the Gambia to add more of its troops in peace support operations. The CDS then settled for a meeting, first with members of Grts 13, whose commander briefed his delegation on their roles in Darfur, including securing key and strategic mission areas and guiding the head of the United Mission. Lieutenant Colonel Salifu Bojang also harped on the cordial relations they enjoy with United and ordinary citizens, adding that the lack of peacekeeping equipment and less number of soldiers are difficulties militating against their progress. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Masami Kinte, hailed the men and women under arms for raising the Gambian flag high at the troubled Sudanese region, adding that they have really proved to be worthy ambassadors of the country. He expressed to them the love, care and appreciation of their Commander-in-Chief, saying that even though they face some difficulties, the High Command, with the support of President Jammeh, has gone very far in actualizing their dreams. He also urged them to keep the team spirit in executing their mandate and close ranks to ensure that their contribution becomes meaningful in peace and stability in Darfur. A similar meeting was also held with the Gambia Police contingent under the command of Commissioner Balde and the Gambian expatriates working for the United Nations mission in Darfur. Reporting from Al-Fasha, United Nations headquarters in the Sudanese region of Darfur, this is Abubakar Dabo.
We'll take our first break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. With little under 2 weeks to go before Senegalese voters choose a new president in a runoff vote, the two candidates are engaging voters on their take on key national issues. One of the more critical issues is how to bring peace to the Casamance region. Incumbent President Wade and rival Macky Sall spoke exclusively about their strategies to halt the insurgency in the region. But as we hear in this report, some Casamance watchers are less convinced about either candidate's plans.
Peace in Casamance. The question has repeatedly been mentioned in the speeches of the two candidates in the second round of voting in Senegal. Questioned by the Platform of Women for Peace in Casamance, incumbent President Abdoulaye Wade says he knows all the big leaders of the guerrilla movements and that he talks with them through intermediaries. His opposition rival, Macky Sall, wants very much to involve Gambia and Guinea-Bissau in the peace process. Kamouge Diatta, the former #2 man in the military wing of the MFDC guerrilla group, is analyzing the proposals made by the two presidential candidates to end the crisis.
The crisis in Casamance belongs not only to Casamance and Senegal. It's also a part of Gambia, Guinea-Bissau and the entire region. If the proposal made by President Wade excludes all the neighboring countries, it simply will not work. Nobody has responded properly to the question of Casamance. I say Casamance is the #1 priority, not one of several priorities.
In the meantime, Casamance, home to an armed separatist movement for more than 30 years, is currently seeing an upswing in violence. This past Sunday, 3 Senegalese soldiers were killed and 4 others injured in an ambush by rebels thought to be from the MFDC.
The International Criminal Court has found Thomas Lubanga guilty of war crimes. Lubanga was a rebel commander during the war in the Democratic Republic of Congo 10 years ago. This is the first case that the ICC has concluded since it started work in 2002. We have details in this report.
The Criminal Court based in The Hague has handed down its first verdict since it was set up 10 years ago. Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo savoured the moment, while Thomas Lubanga, who has been found guilty of war crimes, appeared detached.
The prosecution has proved, beyond reasonable doubt, that Mr. Thomas Lubanga Dailo is guilty of the crimes of conscripting and enlisting children under the age of 15 years into the FPLC and using them to participate actively in hostilities.
60 witnesses and 129 victims gave testimony in hearings that lasted 200 days. Thomas Lubanga was recruited first by Uganda and then Rwanda to fight in Ituri, a gold-rich region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thomas Lubanga led an armed group of the Union of Congolese Patriots. Under the cover of protecting the Hema ethnic group against their neighbors, the Lendu, he forced hundreds of children as young as 11 to serve as soldiers and sex slaves in a conflict that ended in 2003. It took the intervention of European forces and the deaths of 9 peacekeepers in 2005 to persuade Kinshasa to hand over Thomas Lubanga for trial in The Hague. Thomas Lubanga will have to wait for the International Criminal Court to hand down his sentence, which he has the right to appeal.
And before we go, a reminder of our headlines. Officials of the African Women in Leadership Organization today briefed the Vice President and Women's Affairs Minister on their forthcoming Banjul conference. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Mas Ane Kinte, and a 10-member security delegation are visiting armed Gambian service personnel in the Sudanese region of Darfur. The International Criminal Court has found the former Congolese warlord Thomas Lubanga guilty of war crimes. And President Abdoulaye Wade and his opponent in the upcoming presidential runoff vote, Macky Sall, have been offering solutions to the Casamance separatist war, but observers say they are not convinced. You can also follow that story and other Grts programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor Grts Radio Live. That brings us to the end of the news. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned and enjoy a range of interesting programs.
waaye man xale yi de ma mburu mi nga xam mbudaake mi ma bëgg a wol nii ñu jël mburu mi yëpp jaxase ko mbudaake mi li nga xam ne dama bëggoon a wol mbudaake mi mburu mi boor.
asalaamaaleykum.
maaleykum salaam.